The Devil Inside. This found footage horror film didn't just have a bad ending, it stopped the movie to demand audiences do homework. The Devil Inside ends abruptly with a car crash involving the possessed characters. The screen cuts to black, and then a title card appears with instructions. For the facts on the Rossi case, visit www.therossifiles.com. Audiences in 2012 openly booed in theaters at the instruction to go online for the conclusion. The website, therossifiles.com, actually crashed on opening weekend due to the sheer volume of traffic from angry moviegoers trying to find answers. Despite the universal backlash, the film made $101 million on a $1 million budget, proving that terrible endings don't always hurt box office performance. Director William Brent Bell defended the abrupt conclusion as authentic to the documentary style of the found footage format. It represents the peak of found footage arrogance, treating a theatrical film like a transmedia marketing campaign rather than a complete story. It is widely considered one of the most insulting endings in horror history. Planet of the Apes, 2001. Tim Burton's remake attempted to out-twist the original Planet of the Apes, but resulted in a logical paradox that baffled audiences. Mark Wahlberg's character, Leo Davidson, travels back to Earth and crash lands at the Lincoln Memorial. He discovers the statue of Abraham Lincoln has been replaced by a statue of the villain, General Thade. The inscription reads, "To Thade for saving the apes." Police apes and news crews immediately swarm him, revealing that modern society is entirely ape-run. No explanation is given for how Thade, who is trapped in the past on another planet, somehow beat Leo back to Earth to alter history. The DVD commentary attempts to explain that Thade stole Leo's ship and time-traveled back, but the film itself omits this entirely, leaving viewers confused. While the 1968 original had the iconic Statue of Liberty reveal, showing that Earth was the planet of the apes all along, this ending tried to mimic that shock without any of the narrative foundation. It created a confusing time travel loop that felt like a twist for the sake of a twist, with no regard for logical consistency. The Turning. This 2020 adaptation of The Turn of the Screw technically doesn't have an ending at all. Starring Mackenzie Davis and Finn Wolfhard, the climax builds to a confrontation with the ghosts and the disturbed children. The film then cuts abruptly to a close-up of Davis's face, screaming or staring blankly. Credits roll immediately, with no resolution, no explanation, and no closure. The Turning earned a rare F cinema score from audiences, making it one of only approximately 20 films in history to receive the lowest possible grade. Director Floria Sigismondi claimed the non-ending was meant to represent the cyclic nature of abuse and trauma. This is a modern example of elevated horror aspirations backfiring spectacularly. The lack of resolution wasn't seen as artistic ambiguity by viewers, but as a production failure or missing reel, as if the projectionist forgot to load the final act. Remember Me, a standard romantic drama that pulls a manipulative, real-world tragedy out of nowhere in the final seconds. Remember Me is a romance film starring Robert Pattinson as Tyler and Emily DeRavin as Allie. The plot focuses on family trauma and relationships in New York City, with nothing to suggest the story has any connection to historical events. In the final scene, Tyler goes to his father's office to wait for him. The camera pans out to reveal the date written on a classroom chalkboard by a teacher. Tuesday, September 11th, 2001. The final shot shows Tyler standing in the North Tower of the World Trade Center just before the attacks. Critics and audiences accuse the film of exploiting 9/11 for unearned emotional weight, using a national tragedy as a cheap twist ending. The ending recontextualizes a generic romance as a 9/11 tragedy without doing any of the narrative work to earn it. It functions as a gotcha moment, using one of the darkest days in American history. I Am Legend. Will Smith's blockbuster ruined its own title by changing the ending to appease test audiences. In the theatrical ending, Robert Neville, played by Smith, blows himself up with a grenade to kill the Alpha Darkseeker, sacrificing himself to save the cure for humanity. This portrays him as a traditional Hollywood martyr and hero. However, the original alternate ending, which was faithful to the source novel, tells a very different story. Neville realizes the Darkseekers are intelligent and are trying to rescue their mate, whom he has been experimenting on. He releases the female subject and understands that he is the legendary monster to them, a creature who kills them in their sleep. Test audiences rejected this intellectual ending as too depressing, forcing the studio to reshoot the explosive finale for theaters. The 2022 sequel announcement confirmed that the alternate ending is now canon, officially retconning the theatrical cut. The theatrical ending completely inverts the meaning of the title, I Am Legend. Instead of being a legend of terror to the new species, he becomes a generic legend of heroism, stripping the story of its philosophical depth and thematic weight. Serenity, 2019. A sweaty noir thriller starring Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway that takes a hard left turn into science fiction nonsense. The plot sets up a murder mystery. Hathaway's character asks McConaughey's character, Baker Dill, to kill her abusive husband for money. The twist reveal comes out of nowhere. Baker Dill is not a real person. He is a character in a fishing video game. The entire game is designed by his son Patrick to vicariously kill his abusive stepfather in a virtual world. Characters frequently glitch or repeat NPC dialogue throughout the film, such as, "Take that hook out of me," which makes sense only in retrospect. The entire reality of the film, including the town of Plymouth, is computer code in a video game. The film was a box office bomb, earning only $14 million on a $25 million budget. The twist invalidates the stakes of the drama. Watching A-list actors deliver serious noir dialogue, only to reveal they are NPCs in a child's PlayStation fishing project, created unintentional comedy and widespread mockery. Superman, 1978. The most famous superhero movie of all time features a deus ex machina that breaks physics and logic. Lois Lane dies in an earthquake caused by Lex Luthor's missiles hitting the San Andreas Fault. Superman, devastated by her death, flies into space and flies around the Earth counter-rotationally at super speed. The visuals show the Earth spinning backward, representing time reversing. Lois is resurrected, and the catastrophic events are undone. From a physics perspective, reversing the Earth's rotation would kill everyone on the planet, not reverse time. From a narrative perspective, it removes all consequences and gives Superman godlike powers that were never established before in the film. Some fans argue he just flew faster than light, and the spinning Earth was a visual metaphor for time travel. But the visual language of the scene clearly implies he physically spun the planet backward. It established the lazy superhero ending trope. If the hero fails, just break the rules of the universe to fix it. By the way, if you're enjoying this type of content, I post videos like this all the time. Subscribing would really help out. The Twilight Saga, Breaking Dawn, Part 2. The franchise finale staged an epic battle that killed off major characters, only to reveal it never happened. The climax features a massive battle on a frozen lake between the Cullen vampire family and the Volturi, the vampire ruling class. Fan-favorite characters like Carlisle and Jasper are brutally decapitated and killed on screen. Audience reactions in theaters included gasps, sobbing, and cheering at villain deaths. Then the reveal happens. The entire 10-minute battle was a vision of the future shown by Alice Cullen to the villain Arrow using her psychic ability. The battle never physically takes place in reality. The parties talk it out and leave peacefully. This deviation from the book, which had no battle at all, was done solely to add action to a dialogue-heavy ending. While it solved the book's anticlimactic conclusion, it cheapened the emotional reaction of the audience. It's the modern equivalent of the "it was all a dream" trope, robbing viewers of the catharsis they experienced during the fight. Now You See Me, A heist movie twist that contradicts the behavior of the character for the entire preceding film. Now You See Me follows the Four Horsemen, a group of stage magicians who pull off elaborate heists. They are hunted by FBI agent Dylan Rhodes, played by Mark Ruffalo. Rhodes spends the movie angrily chasing them, nearly dying in dangerous situations, and being frustrated by their escapes. The final twist reveals that Rhodes is actually the fifth horseman and the mastermind behind the entire plot. The problem is a massive plot hole. Rhodes acts surprised and angry even when he is alone in rooms with no cameras or observers. It makes no sense for him to investigate himself or risk his own life in car chases if he planned everything from the start. The twist recontextualizes his character from a determined cop to an illogical actor who forgets when he's on stage. It's a classic example of a twist that prioritizes shocking the audience over narrative consistency, breaking the fair play rule of mysteries. Lucy. Luc Besson's science fiction thriller takes the 10% of the brain myth to its absolute limit. The premise is that Lucy, played by Scarlett Johansson, unlocks increased brain capacity via a synthetic drug that leaks into her system. At 100% brain capacity, she transcends physical form entirely. In the final scene, she spits out a black flash drive into Morgan Freeman's hand, containing all her knowledge and consciousness. Her physical body then vanishes into thin air, and she sends a text message to the detective who has been helping her. The message reads, "I am everywhere." The visual of an omnipotent being, someone who has achieved godlike transcendence, turning into a USB stick became an instant meme. The film attempts to be profound, evoking Kubrickian evolution and cosmic enlightenment, but it ends up being unintentionally silly. The reduction of human evolution and consciousness to a USB drive that can be plugged into a laptop is hilarious rather than thought-provoking. Signs. M. Night Shyamalan's atmospheric invasion movie falls apart when you look at the aliens' weakness. Signs builds tension throughout as hostile aliens invade Earth and terrorize a family in rural Pennsylvania. The aliens are revealed to be deadly allergic to water. It burns them like acid. The problem is the logic. They chose to invade a planet that is approximately 71% water. They run naked through cornfields filled with dew and exist in a humid atmosphere without any protection. The ending hinges on the coincidence of scattered water glasses left around the house by the daughter, Bo. Meryl, played by Joaquin Phoenix, defeats the alien by swinging a baseball bat at the glasses, splashing water on it. Some fans argue they are actually demons, and the water was holy water blessed by the former priest protagonist. But the film presents them as biological extraterrestrials with a spaceship. It turns a terrifying threat into incompetent invaders. An interstellar species capable of faster-than-light space travel should have discovered raincoats, or at least checked the weather forecast before launching a planetary invasion. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. The conclusion to the Skywalker saga hit a critical plot point in a separate video game. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker opens with the crawl stating, "The dead speak. The galaxy has heard a mysterious broadcast, a threat of revenge in the sinister voice of the late Emperor Palpatine." This broadcast, the inciting incident of the entire film, is never heard in the movie itself. The actual audio of Palpatine's return message was exclusive to a live event in the video game Fortnite. Fortnite players heard Ian McDiarmid's voice say, "At last, the work of generations is complete. The great error is corrected. The day of victory is at hand. The day of revenge. The day of the Sith." The ending twist reveals that Rey is actually the granddaughter of Palpatine, but she declares herself Rey Skywalker after rejecting her bloodline. Palpatine is defeated when Rey reflects his own Force lightning back at him, the same way Mace Windu nearly killed him in Episode 3. It represents the fragmentation of storytelling in the franchise era. critical narrative setup was outsourced to a marketing tie-in with a battle royale video game, leaving movie-only viewers confused about how Palpatine returned in the first place. High Tension, Haute Tension. This French extremity horror film has a twist that renders the entire preceding movie physically impossible. High Tension follows Marie as she tries to save her friend Alex from a brutal male killer driving a truck. The twist reveals that Marie is the killer. The truck driver is a figment of her imagination, a manifestation of her psychotic break. The problem is that we see the killer in scenes where Marie is not present, shot from an objective viewpoint. A specific scene shows the killer getting oral sex from a severed head in the truck, while Marie is shown simultaneously in a separate car. Marie somehow drives both the truck and the car during the chase sequences that happen at the same time. The film cheats the audience by showing objective scenes that couldn't have happened if the twist is true. It's a Fight Club-style twist, done without any of the internal logic. While Fight Club carefully avoids showing Tyler Durden in objective scenes, High Tension does not, making the twist feel like a betrayal rather than a clever reveal. Savages. Oliver Stone's crime thriller doesn't just have a bad ending. It shows you a good one, then deletes it. Savages follows a love triangle between Chan, Ben, and O, played by Taylor Kitsch, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and Blake Lively. The first ending is a dramatic tragedy where Chan injects Ben and O with lethal overdoses to save them from torture before being gunned down himself. It is tragic and fits the tone of the violent crime story. Then the film rewinds on screen with a visual glitch effect. The narrator, O, reveals that the tragic ending was just her imagining a scenario, a version of events that didn't happen. The real ending shows the DEA arresting the bad guys, the heroes surviving, and everyone living happily ever after on a beach in Indonesia. The film is based on the Don Winslow novel, but softens the bleak ending for a Hollywood resolution. It robs the film of its grit and consequences. The rewind technique feels like a filmmaker lacking the courage to follow through on a tragedy, undermining the entire emotional buildup. Wonder Woman. A film praised for its nuance abandons its central theme for a generic CGI light show. Wonder Woman establishes a central theme throughout its runtime. Diana believes that Ares, the god of war, is responsible for World War I. Steve Trevor argues that war is complex, and it's not one bad guy pulling the strings. It's all of us. Humanity is flawed. This sets up a mature realization about human nature and the capacity for both good and evil. The ending completely contradicts this. Diana is right. Ares is real, played by David Thewlis with a mustache, and killing him instantly stops the war. German soldiers literally wake up from a trance and stop fighting once Ares dies, as if they were mind-controlled. The climax devolves into a generic beam struggle CGI fight between Diana and Ares. The ending validates Diana's naive belief that hitting a bad guy with a sword fixes geopolitics and war, instead of accepting Steve's lesson that humanity is flawed and war is a complex human failing. It's a thematic betrayal in favor of a safe, crowd-pleasing conclusion. Glass. The conclusion to the Unbreakable trilogy kills its invulnerable hero in a puddle. David Dunn, played by Bruce Willis, is the unbreakable man. He survives train wrecks, brutal fights, and superhuman threats across 2 films. In Glass, he is killed by an unnamed tactical officer who holds his face down in a shallow rain puddle in a parking lot. M. Night Shyamalan defended the death as Achilles' heel logic, pointing out that water is Dunn's established weakness from the first film. Critics and fans called it anticlimactic and disrespectful to a character built up over 19 years. The secret society known as the Clover Organization reveals themselves in the ending, explaining they've been suppressing superhumans for centuries, stripping the world of the grounded mystery that made Unbreakable compelling. It takes a grounded superhero mythos and ends it with a death that feels less like a tragedy and more like a damp inconvenience. It is widely cited as one of the most disappointing trilogy cappers in modern cinema. The Village. The twist that became the punchline for M. Night Shyamalan's career decline. The Village is set in what appears to be a 19th century settlement surrounded by monsters referred to as those we don't speak of. The blind protagonist, Ivy Walker, scales the wall to find medicine in the towns beyond. She encounters a park ranger in a Jeep. The reveal is that it is modern day, specifically 2004. The Village is a nature preserve called the Walker Preserve inside a high-security fence funded by Ivy's father. The elders are just grief-stricken modern people playing dress-up to escape society after losing loved ones to urban violence. The monsters were elders in costumes, designed to keep the younger generation from leaving. While the twist is thematically interesting, exploring grief and escapism, the execution felt cheap to audiences expecting a period horror film. It relied on withholding basic information, like the presence of modern aircraft or the existence of the outside world, rather than clever plotting. It broke trust with the viewer, cementing Shyamalan's reputation for twist endings that prioritize surprise over narrative satisfaction. If this was interesting to you, consider subscribing so you don't miss future uploads. Thanks for watching.